I'm really excited about these brand new Nike Flightposite 2014s that I just picked up. They're the carbon fiber edition, and it's the perfect opportunity for us to talk a little bit about carbon fiber and also the early days of Zoom Air. So the Flightposite was originally released by Nike in 1999, and it was part of the Air Alpha project. There were three different editions of the Flightposite. This is the first edition, the Air Flightposite. There's also a Flightposite 2, which is also known as the KG edition because it was worn by Kevin Garnett. And then, of course, there's the Flightposite 3, and there's also a Battleground edition of that for outdoor basketball. Those are the crazy-looking shoes with, like, honeycombs on the upper. The Nike executive said that the shoes were called the brain tumors internally at Nike because they looked like they had brain tumors on them. Anyway, in addition to those three Flightposites, there's also Flightposite boots and Clogposites, which are a mule or a clog edition of the Flightposite. Anyway, when this shoe came out last week, it was $210, and I really didn't know what to expect. I woke up early and bought them on Twitter at 5 a.m., and they're actually still available on Nike.com in sizes 11 and up right now. And they're available on other retailers too. So lately, Nike hasn't been doing that well with Foamposites and Flightposites. The Foamposites are up to $250. The Flightposites at $210 are not selling well. There have been three different editions of Flightposite Exposed that have come out this year, and one of those is the Year of the Horse. All three of those are still available on Nike.com. Anyway, the carbon fiber edition, I thought there was a chance that it was going to sell out because it's the carbon fiber one. Who knows what'll happen if the New York Knicks ones come out. We've heard rumors that New York Knicks inspired Flightposites are going to retro, and also maybe even the Spike Lee New York Knicks Foamposites, and they may even be retroed as a pack. Just about a week or so ago, Gentry Humphrey sent out a tweet saying there might be a surprise Posit pack. And we already know rumors of those two New York editions, and the New York Flightposites are very valuable. The foams have never come out, but maybe Nike can redeem themselves with these foams because these ones would likely sell out. There's actually a pair of metallic silver foams coming out this weekend. We'll see what happens. Of course, the Supreme Foamposites that are coming out soon are going to sell out, but that's because it's a collaboration with Supreme. Anyway, let's get back to the Flightposite, the one that I just picked up. So this shoe was part of that Alpha project, and it was also part of an amazing Nike advertising campaign called Nike Freestyle. And it featured players like Jason Williams and Darius Miles, Vince Carter, and they were doing all sorts of crazy basketball tricks to hip hop. Go on YouTube and search for Nike Freestyle commercial. Come on over here though, and let's have a look at this pair of Flightposite 2014s. It's the carbon fiber edition because when you look closely at the upper of the shoe, it's going to have this carbon fiber-like checkered pattern on there. So it gives us the perfect opportunity to talk about the early days of carbon fiber on Nikes. I want to move this pair of shoes out of the way and grab a pair of what are my favorite of all of the carbon fiber shoes. But before we do that, I got to tell you just a little more about the inspirations behind this Flightposite. So it represented 20 years of Nike basketball innovation. Eric Avar designed it. He's also the designer of the Foamposite that came out a few years earlier. And this shoe is much like a sock in that it's like an extension of your body. That has a lot to do with this zipper-like upper, which is also a part of the glove, Gary Payton's shoe, his first signature shoe that came out a year before the Flightposite. But anyway, the shoe was supposed to be like a natural extension of the body, and it was inspired by futuristic sketches of concept cars. Come have a look right here, and you can see how the lines of the Flightposite sort of look like the lines on the sketch of this futuristic sports car. So that's an interesting segue into carbon fiber, because carbon fiber is very prevalent on sports cars and in racing and in airplanes. Actually, my personal relationship with carbon fiber goes all the way back to my childhood when I used to race RC cars with my little brother. And we would oftentimes get parts that were made out of carbon fiber, and they were always very, very expensive. See, here's the thing about carbon fiber. It's really expensive because the process to make it is very time-consuming and tedious. And also, it's very, very lightweight and very, very strong. Actually, for the weight of the material and the strength of it, it's unbelievable what carbon fiber is supposed to do compared to, say, like steel. Actually, they've been saying that carbon fiber could make huge innovations in automobiles. If they could replace the steel with carbon fiber, the cars would be way lighter and it would be better for fuel efficiency. Anyway, I want to move on to my favorite pair of carbon fiber inspired basketball shoes. These ones right here, the ShoeZeum Flight Premium. First came out by Nike in 1995, and back in those days, it was called the ShoeZeum Flight 95. This shoe was worn by Jason Kidd in the early days of his career. Look how amazing it is, and you can see how this beautiful carbon fiber-like print goes all the way over the upper, on the midsole, underneath here on the outsole. You can see right here, the carbon fiber on the outsole of this shoe is typically where Nike puts carbon fiber on their shoes. It's what's known as a shank, and it's in there on the outsole and midsole to absorb pounding. And remember, it's super powerful and super duper lightweight. I had 5 pairs of these in the ShoeZeum, and I've actually sold all but just this one of them. They were on display in the basketball section, and I had all sorts of VIP guests come and visit me at the ShoeZeum, including Mike Adams. He's a professional baseball player, and at the time he was a pitcher on the Padres. He came by, and when we were in the basketball section, the guy lost his mind over this pair of shoes. He said his whole team in high school wore these, like the starting 5, and he was like just getting so nostalgic with this shoe. Something really special about the ShoeZeum is I would walk VIPs through, executives from Nike, and they would all fall in love with a pair of shoes, and I never knew what it would be, and with this one right here, Mike Adams just lost his mind. So, of course, in addition to this being carbon fiber everywhere, it's also got Zoom Air in there. Back in the early days of Zoom Air, it was actually called Tensile Air, and this is one of the earliest examples of basketball shoes with Zoom Air. The LWP was the first one, but this was one of the earliest and arguably the coolest. And it didn't take long for Nike to take this technology and start putting it in their Air Jordans. Let's look at my all-time favorite pair of J's, the Air Jordan 11, the black and red edition. Here we go. This is the 2001 retro pair. You gotta love this shoe. So when this came out, people lost their minds primarily over the patent leather upper. It was so flashy, and nothing like this had ever come out up until this shoe. But in addition to the patent leather upper, it also features major technology, including carbon fiber. Check out the carbon fiber right here. Come have a look close up. You can see it's got that amazing checker pattern on there. This is the first pair of Air Jordans to feature carbon fiber on here. And it's actually a good way to be able to spot fake Jordans because the fakes never have good quality carbon fiber on there. So ever since the Air Jordan 11, carbon fiber has been a staple in Air Jordans and top-of-the-line basketball shoes. But with the Jordan line, it's been really cool because as carbon fiber has moved from one pair of J's to another, it's changed aesthetically. I want to have a look at the next pair of J's right here. The Air Jordan 12 will also break out the black and red colorway. This is the color that Michael wore in the infamous Flu Game. You know, there's the Flu Game retros, they're suede, but the actual Flu Game shoes that Michael Jordan wore were black and red leather, just like this pair right here. And actually, those Flu Game shoes just sold for over $100,000, the shoes that he actually wore in that game. So right here, the Air Jordan 12 continues with the carbon fiber. Come on over here and have a look underneath, and you can see that actually there's a different type of a pattern on the carbon fiber than what was on the Air Jordan 11. The Air Jordan 11 is much more checkered. The Air Jordan 12 is sort of a zigzag down here. Now, in addition to the carbon fiber on the outsole of this shoe features Zoom Air, and it's the first pair of Air Jordans to ever feature Zoom Air. So it sort of ties in the Air Jordan 12 with the Zoom Flight Premium over here that we were talking about in 1995. So the shoe that sold for over $100,000, we all know the amazing story about the Utah Jazz ball boy that brought Michael Jordan applesauce and graham crackers in the locker room and then asked him for his pair of shoes, and then Michael gave over the shoes that he later auctioned off for more than $100,000. So the ShoeZeum is all about bringing shoes to life with toys and props. So of course I would have to recreate the locker room scene. We've got this locker series from Upper Deck basketball cards way back in the early 90s. I used to collect sports cards. We're going to open up this locker and you know what's going to be inside here. A pack of graham crackers, and then some applesauce. So that's how I do it at the ShoeZeum. I'm not sure where the actual flu games went. Nike probably bought them. I wouldn't be surprised if they actually retro this colorway of the 12. At the end of 2013, we got Taxi 12s. We also got Gamma 12s. We know how Nike loves to crank out the same shoe in color after color after color. This would for sure be the most desirable of all of the different Air Jordan 12s. It's been a real pleasure walking you through the history of carbon fiber and the early days of Zoom Air.